Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, the show where we help tax and accounting professionals scale smarter, build better businesses, and stay one step ahead of the curve. Today's topic is how to build $1 million firm without working 70 hours a week. I've been watching some podcasts myself or listening to some podcasts myself and some webinars. So today I realize that when I just talk and don't get to the guts of something, people don't have the patience anymore. So my name is Lee Reams. I'm going to get to the guts of the playbook of how to build $1 million firm right off in today's podcast. So we'll do kind of our Q&A afterwards, but you will get all of the talking points very quickly. I am joined today by Rebekah Barton. She's our Chief Visibility Officer here at CountingWorks. She works closely with our VIP clients, providing counseling on how to build custom narratives, how to stand out, how to drive thought leadership, how to make themselves look wonderful online. Rebekah, if you could say hello.
Hey, everybody. I'm excited to dive in today.
Yeah, and then this one is obviously for a very targeted audience of independent tax and accounting firms. So obviously, if you're a solopreneur or a smaller firm with lower than $1 million revenue, you are in the right podcast. We're going to talk specifically to you. So if you've ever asked yourself, how do I attract better clients? How should I price my services? What can I automate so I am not the bottleneck? That is a common theme throughout this podcast. This episode is for you. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start out with talking about the $1 million playbook, and it's a guide for solo and small accounting firms. I'm going to make this downloadable on our blog. So we are doing a blog article series on building $1 million practice. And on the first one, if you go to countingworkspro.com, you'll be able to download this as well. I'll put it in the description of the podcast, both on YouTube and on Apple and others, so you guys can download it. So why does this playbook matter? So most solo practitioners and small firms, they actually never cross the $1 million mark. And it's not because they lack skill, education, expertise, but it's because they run their firm like a job, not a business. So if you're billing hourly, marketing sporadically or not at all, and doing everything yourself, you're going to get stuck, okay? So this playbook is your path to building a scalable, profitable practice that earns more and gives you your time back. And then if you decide when you get to the million, you might be very happy with your lifestyle. You might not want to go to the next, but next week we are going to do the $1 million to 10 million and kind of talk about what transformation needs to happen there. So let's start with step one in our playbook. Okay, so step one is define your $1 million model. So what is our goal here? We want to decide what type of practice you're building and what mix of services will get you to $1 million. So I'm going to ask some key questions at this point. Are you a compliance-only firm or advisory focus? Will you specialize in real estate investors, lawyers, small business startups, tech company, medical practices? How many clients do you actually want to work with? I think, and I'll bring you in here as well, Rebekah, since you talk to our clients. When we talk about niching down, we all a lot of times talk about working with clients or topics or services that you really enjoy. And how would you go about that process when we're interviewing clients or kind of helping them build out their narratives? What are the type of questions you ask? What's the exercise you go through with our clients when we set them up to kind of decide, what kind of firm do I want to build?
Yeah, so branding and narratives are two of my favorite things to do with clients. It's stuff I'm passionate about and I love professionally. So what we usually do is if they don't have a niche, some people know. They're like, I only work with doctors. I only work with restaurant owners. I only work with, veterinarians, whatever it may be. And they know right off the bat what they want to do. And we're able to kind of dive right into crafting their story. If someone doesn't know, the first thing I kind of do is say, well, is there anything you really enjoy doing? Can you kind of think of maybe some clients you have who fall in the same vein that you enjoy working with, or who have brought in a particular amount of money, or who you seem to be getting a lot of even without trying? And then a lot of times that kind of has the light bulb go off and they're like, well, Actually just yesterday I was talking to someone who was like, we actually have a lot of truckers, a lot of owner operators. And from there, we were able to kind of dive into, okay, let's add a service page specifically for the trucking industry. What is it that you like about the trucking industry, et cetera, et cetera. So I think just kind of getting people thinking about the fact that they might already have a niche and not realize it is really important. And if it is someone who truly has been a generalist to this point, I kind of just ask them, what do you love? Like, what is it about your job that you actually enjoy the most? And that can kind of help us hone in, if not on a specific niche yet, at least where they want to focus and where they want to lean. And it's a learning process. Sometimes if you don't have a niche, you might have to try a couple of things and see what really works. So don't get discouraged, but there's something out there for everyone, I think is the biggest thing I've learned.
Yeah, so let's step back then one step before what Rebekah's talking about. And the action steps here on this first step is you need to sketch out what a $1 million model looks like. And it's just basic math, right? So do I want to attract 100 clients at $10,000 a year? Or do I want to attract 250 clients at $4,000 a year, right? So in the trucker side, you're probably going to have many more clients at a lower price. You may not get $4,000 a year from them. They just can't afford it, or the value is not there. But it's the same type of process you can go through. So let's sit down and just kind of say, hey, do I want to work with a lot of clients? Do I want to work with fewer clients, give them more services, better advice, more value? That's step one. And then from there, kind of decide, well, what services must be included to justify that pricing? So are we including tax planning, proactive tax planning in there, advisory, virtual CFO services? Do I need to roll in payroll services, perhaps bill paying services? What are those value add things they're doing today that they'll pay you for so they can get their time back, that will help you justify whatever pricing that you come up with, whatever math we do here. And then I'm going to say this is going to be hard for a lot of people, drop anything that doesn't scale or align with your strengths, because it takes you sideways. It's going to take up your time. It's kind of the rule where you got a very few clients who are super high maintenance. They're probably the ones that are not paying you the most, and they're the most demanding, right? We all see it. And when you go through that and you really are, it's like, why? Why am I allowing myself to be taken advantage of, really? Why don't I value my services, my expertise more to price accordingly? So that's step one. It's very easy. It's a math problem. And it's like, oh, wait a second. This isn't that difficult. I can actually map this out and put goals and metrics around this. All right. So step two, and Rebekah just started talking about a little bit, is you need to fix your positioning and your website. Whether you call it your website and all your branding across the web, we call it search everywhere optimization. And what that means in today's modern world with AI citations of articles, of Google, of rankings, of people reading reviews, if you've been referred, they all add up to either getting high-end clients, getting positioned, or not, right? So the goal here is we want to stop sounding like every other firm and start attracting ideal clients. I went through an audit. Normally, I do not look at our competition. And I was working on just some things that we're doing on our own platform and kind of looking at the tools. And I just wanted to see how different we really were. This was more of a branding exercise for us. And I went to, and I don't want to name the names, but there's 3 or 4 firms that people think are similar to us that offer template-based, generic, like they're doing marketing SEO things from 10, 15 years ago, things that don't even apply anymore in a modern AI-driven world. They have every single site is a cookie cutter site. And I sit there and I'm like, if we sound like those firms, we're probably attracting the wrong group of people anyways. We want to find and attract people that want to change the game. They want to be leaders. They want to be the most successful people in their niche. And you need to do the same thing in the tax and accounting space. So you do not want to be a generalist, do everything commodity. You don't want to be looked at as a commodity. And as AI proliferates and you get more and more tools out there that can create a tax plan in 15 seconds, and you were, let's say, charging hourly rates before, and now it took you 4 hours to do something that takes you 11 minutes. Good luck trying to translate that in your ethical billing practices. So there's a lot of ways to position. So let's talk about a little warning signs, or if I'm speaking to you right now. So your homepage headlines, we do taxes, so you don't have to. Oh, that's great. I am looking for tax help. That's hopefully what you do. There's no differentiation there. There's no pain points that you're solving other than you're doing my taxes for me. I guess that is a pain point. But you're really talking to nobody, right? You list your services like a menu instead of solving a pain. So you're not actually addressing. Let's talk about this a little bit. Rebekah, an exercise for tax and accounting firms is perhaps go to a tool like Max, our AI tool, and say, hey, these are the services that I provide. But instead of writing them just like a menu, these are all the bullet points. Write it as if the pain that I'm solving for my target audience. So perhaps you ask Max, hey, I'm working with restaurant owners and I'm trying to take the budgeting and the cash flow pains off of them. Can you write my service page around that? So explain kind of how you would use a tool like AI to solve this problem and help you position.
Yeah, so you want it to be experiential, right? And it's interesting you brought up restaurants and menus, because I was actually just reading an article about how within the restaurant industry, all of a sudden, the food doesn't actually matter anymore. What people care about is the experience they're getting by going to the restaurant. And this might not seem like a one-to-one comparison, but it kind of is, because nobody really cares the exact service you're offering. They can get tax preparation anywhere. What they want is an experience. They want to know your story. They want to know the difference that you're going to bring to the table that nobody else can offer. So I think you tell AI that. Talk to AI like it's your marketing assistant or your branding counselor and say, hey, we're trying to establish that we can solve X, Y, and Z problems with our tax preparation and planning services. Please write a service page for our city-based firm that explains exactly how we solve this issue for clients within whatever industry or age group or demographic that you're trying to target. And it should spit out something really, really solid for you.
Yeah, and what you're doing then is positioning yourself for your audience to find you and almost self-select. They're going to read your copy, they're going to see their imagery, they're going to go through your marketing experience, and they're going to be ready to sign up. You'll see when you start doing this, you have more of like a lineup of clients versus, again, 20 different types of people coming in with different needs, different areas of expertise needed. They're not going to pay you a premium price. And one of the things you'll see is a warning sign of a generic positioning statement is you attract the wrong clients, or they're just kicking the tires, right? They're looking for free advice. They perhaps don't know the expectations of what it costs to work with you. Maybe you have not communicated that properly on your website and your marketing materials. So that's a big deal. So what are some action steps you can do? Write a new narrative that speaks directly to a niche. So I don't care if your niche is baby boomers. I don't care if your niche is Newport Beach, to the city. You need to create a narrative around that target audience. You have to stand out. There's a book called The Purple Cow. It's all about standing out. If you ever want to bore yourself, it's a great book for marketing people, but trust me, all I need to say is purple cow. Do something similar. You don't have to be out of the edge. I know accounting is conservative, taxes is conservative, it's trust-based driven, but you can 100% have your own narrative, show your personality. Some of our biggest success stories, Murphy3.com is a perfect example. Been around for a long time. Their personality is all over their website. It's in the firm. Every single experience or touch point you have with that firm, you see their personality. That is why they're one of the leading firms in Orange County, right? They have stepped up. They have a narrative. They have a brand message, and it matters. Use language that focuses on outcomes, not deliverables. People want to have aspirational goals. They want to dream. Your job is to deliver better financial outcomes, right? So what this means is you need to make your website, your social media a funnel. It's not a brochure. It's not where you're putting commas after every designation you have. You need to walk them through with calls to action, lead magnets, we call it, proof testimonials, case studies. Social proof is so important. When I was doing my audit of all our competitors, the first thing I was doing, I would go to their websites, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe these people have this website. And then I would go to Google their name and see what I saw. Common theme, no testimonials, no reviews. And if they had reviews, they're one-star reviews because they haven't actively managed their review profiles. This is like marketing 101, specifically when you're trying to build $1 million practice. So there are literally tens of thousands of accountants and tax pros out there that are doing absolutely nothing. You can kill them if you follow some of what we're talking about today. Step 3, automate and delegate like a real business. I think this is the issue that most business owners, especially when you're a solopreneur and you start building out a staff, you're doing everything. You're doing the proposals. You're the biz dev person. You're the one sending the engagement letters. You're not using technology or systems to start being more scalable, right? So what are the focus areas here? I'm going to give you 3 that I think can start saving 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, an hour here. If you add it up times 250 clients, that's a lot of time, okay? So client intake and scheduling is the lowest hanging fruit. There's all kinds of form builders. CountyWorks Pro obviously has all sorts of automations with intaking that we trigger a client through a workflow. And let me give you an example so you understand. So you have a client who came, they converted because you have a wonderful website. What is the first step? Well, I sent them a proposal that is hooked up to Stripe so they can pay me. And now they're signed up to my $2,000 a month virtual CFO package, right? The client gets the proposal, reads everything through, clicks buy now, puts a credit card in. What's next? Well, let's send out automatically the engagement letter for the virtual CFO services. I didn't, how long did it take me to do the proposal? AI could have built that for me. I could send it out in seconds or minutes. The engagement letter, I already have like my set templates, or I could have AI write it for me. E-sign, email goes out, client signs it, it comes back in. The system knows it came back in. What should it trigger next? An intake form. Why should I send an intake form? Let the client do a little bit of the work for you so you're not wasting that time during a client interview, and you're more prepared when you actually interview the client or give advice. So those are just some examples. You can go then from intake form comes in, now kick out to-do forms. Pros need to do this. Client needs to do this. Let's make it easier to get documents to me, things like that, which goes into the whole thing of recurring billing and proposals. This is more of like standardized pricing or automate invoicing. So we developed a tool that does dynamic invoicing, and it's really cool if people would figure out how to use it. So this is the basics. Let's say you have a current existing pricing schedule. You want to stay with that. You would load that into our AI tool. It will now know if anything is ever written about in a prompt. So meaning I have a new client. They are based in San Francisco. They make $150,000 a year. They own 1 VRBO, blah, blah, blah. You could then dynamically create an invoice from your memories or from your kind of the things that you're feeding it. You could also have said, I just want to create dynamic invoices based on what AI thinks each region or each type of job would be market rates for. So there's a lot of ways to standardize pricing and get out of the hourly billing cycle. Again, AI is changing the game. You have AI tax prep tools coming out now. You have, Max could do AI tax plans in literally seconds. Put in the inputs, do an intake form, throw in some documents, and have a very polished custom tax plan. That wasn't available before. If you're charging per hour, explain to me how you're going to justify the 4-hour billing when it take you 20 minutes, right? Automate some more on the document requests, follow-ups, categorizing documents when they're uploaded, perhaps scraping documents and creating Excel files or summarizing them in some ways. So use your Client Hub to help you save a ton of time there. So tools to consider, obviously CountyWorks Pro, there's TaxDome, there's Carbon, there's Jetpack, there's Ignition, there's other tools out there. Obviously we're biased on what we think is the best, but 100% look into this technology. It's game-changing for you. It really matters. And then I always say for every hour you automate or delegate is a growth hour you get back, right? So you have more free time. So if you wanted a better life experience, where you only have to work 6 hours versus 12 hours, I think it's probably worth it. All right, so step 4 in our playbook, convert compliance clients to planning clients. We've written so many articles that if you're an existing firm and you have 350 clients, we have all these upsell campaigns. So taking a tax prep client to a tax planning client, we allow you to segment and tag client groups so you can send very targeted messages or even offers. But start thinking about increasing revenue per client without increasing your actual workload, right? So how do you upsell? You start with a tax strategy session. Maybe it's free. Maybe you have like an hour to kind of explain what the product you're trying to offer is. And then, hey, let's do this on an ongoing proactive basis. And I charge X dollars per quarter, month, whatever. Package your advisory in monthly or quarterly tiers. We've done podcasts on this. Use AI, whether it be Max, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, I don't care, to generate tax saving reports quickly. Tools like Max are trained on the tax code, trained by human inputs that are tax experts. So they're going to be much more accurate than a generic chatbot. But the reality is, I feel that layer of kind of prompt questions and getting reports and things back is going to be more and more commoditized. So definitely just think about it. So let's talk about an example, an advisory package. Tier 1 could be $295 a month. And what is that? It's tax prep plus 2 planning sessions a year. So $295, 300 times 12, 3,600 basically. I'm almost at my $4,000 a year. I've now made it so my client isn't sitting there stressed about how long they talk to me, like on the phone call if I was charging hourly. You're saying, hey, tax prep compliance is built in, and I'm giving you 2 extra touch points. If you do tools that record the sessions, for example, you get the transcript. You can throw it into Max and say, summarize some tax plans or some takeaways. You're now able to do so much more in such little bit of time. So I just gave you in tier 1, low price point, almost to your 4,000. So a little more than 250 clients, you just hit $1 million. So I'm trying to break it down so this isn't overwhelming. But tier 2, for example, $495 a month. Includes an S Corp setup, maybe payroll, year-round Q&A, right? Tier 3, 1,000. It's virtual CFO, entity planning, audit support, things like that. So these are ways that you can set up advisory packages that, hey, maybe you get only 25 clients that are paying you the 1,000. Well, there's $25,000 a month. Maybe you get 50 of your clients doing the 495, right? And maybe the balance or the 295. But now you've taken what may have been just a revenue stream during a certain period of time. You're maybe able to stream it out so you don't have your own cash flow issues. You're actually able to widen when you're doing a lot of the work, because by the time you're doing the tax prep, for example, you've already set up the client for success. You're not dealing with a lot of the planning issues or trying to correct bad decisions that were made. So definitely consider the upsell process. We've actually created a bunch of different campaigns that we have proven work and easy to set up, easy to send out to your clients. And immediately you could take that 350 clients, and then let's say you're only getting $500,000 in revenue today. I bet you money this year you could double it to $1 million following this. Step 5, market like you mean it. Marketing. What was it? CPA Trendline sent out an email a couple of months ago, basically said that accountants don't care about marketing. They also said they don't care about security. Both like set me back. Both are like, no, that's not the way our clients are doing it, and they're killing it. So what does that mean? You need to get consistent leads that match your niche and your pricing. So you need to attract clients who are willing to pay what you want, and you want to almost get where they're on a waiting list, right? So what do you do here? Focus on local and niche SEO, search everywhere optimization. Write blogs that speak to pain points, not just tax tips. During my audit of our competitors, I swear, I think they just go to the IRS releases and I think they just copy and paste them, and that's their blog content. It is so thin. It is so boring and not really getting into the life events, getting into the nuances of the tax code for clients, talking to clients at different stages. It's like they don't even understand generational marketing. It's like, well, I think a boomer client thinks of things differently than your millennial client versus your Jay-Z client, or maybe a client, that's now an athlete and is getting all this NIL money, right? So you got to set up a focus of how you're going to create content around that group. Reviews. Most important thing, one of the best signals ever to rank better, and more importantly, if you're just getting referrals, if you have 25 plus 5-star reviews and they are fresh, what does that equal? It equals trust, and it equals visibility. So social proof, it will help referral say, okay, Uncle John said, hey, this is a good person. Yeah, sometimes Uncle John, he's out there hitting the bottle a little bit. I don't trust Uncle John all the time. This way now I have people online talking about the same thing that Uncle John said. And then on the visibility side, these are signals. One, if you have a bunch of reviews, social, maybe they're on social media, people talking about you, but all these different search results are going to show your reviews. So when someone Googles your brand name, you're going to see Google reviews, your TaxBuzz reviews, perhaps your Yelp reviews. That is one, visibility, but also signals to the search engines and all the algorithms at this point that this is someone who is legit, someone that I should talk to. Client newsletter. Rebekah, explain how powerful client newsletters can be.
So powerful. So first of all, they keep you at the top of your client's inbox all year long, which is super important because a lot of people stop thinking about taxes in April. Mid-April, they're done. But they shouldn't be, right? Because you can provide them with services all year that are going to help them save money throughout the year, help them plan properly, and help them pay lower taxes next year. So you need to keep yourself top of mind. Secondarily, newsletters are a great way to provide value. You can offer articles. We are adding a custom blog spinner to our tool where you're able to actually take our syndicated blogs, completely customize them, keep all of the technical information correct and accurate, but throw your own spin on it so that you're providing your clients with information that's going to be valuable specifically to them and where they are in their lives or their businesses. So it's a really good way to offer something that your clients look forward to reading, which is important because you want to offer them something that they can think about, something that's going to get them to contact you, something that's going to have them take action. Newsletters serve that purpose. And the third thing is that they can actually lead to referrals. So if someone reads one of these valuable articles within your newsletter and they're like, wow, I want to send that to, my friends from my networking group or my business partner or whoever else it may be, maybe just their friends. If you're targeting individuals, you have a really good referral funnel without doing really any extra work. All you're doing is just clicking send. And then you may get all kinds of benefits from it. But it's the simplest thing, I think, that you can do from a marketing perspective to get a massive ROI.
Yes, no, awesome. And we just wrote a nice article about, if there's one thing any tax and accounting firm should have, it's a client newsletter. And stay on top of things. There's a lot of ways you can brainstorm with AI tools and what to write about. Obviously, you can use tools like Counting Works, but at minimum, so our action steps here, at minimum, commit to one blog, one email per month. Obviously, you can automate that with services like Counting Works. Ask for reviews immediately after a great client interaction. You'd be surprised how many clients would be willing to share their thoughts. I always say the client does the selling better for you than any copywriting could do. And it also, if you're in a niche, for example, they're going to use terminology that niche knows, and they're going to see it repetitively. It's going to give them even more trust and confidence that you are the right choice. And again, making the conversion to clients so much easier. Use a lead magnet to grow your email list. So let's say you're targeting tech founders. Maybe you create content pillars. So we talk about things and write multiple articles about it. So what do tech founders care about? They care about probably stock options, right? They care about tax savings, how to minimize their tax savings, how they're compensated. They might care about QSBS stock, for example, right? So there's all these different things that you could create landing pages on. Perhaps you have white papers. Perhaps you just have a newsletter that's just set up called Tax Savings Guide for Tax Founders. And all you're doing is you're tagging that group of clients, and you're having 5 or 6 different, very highly focused, personalized newsletters, things that Counting Works can do, that now enable you to send messaging that these people really care about. All right, so I'm going to move on to step number 6. Know your numbers, then level up. So track the right metrics so you know when to hire, raise prices, or drop clients. So what are some key metrics to track? Revenue per client. So we did the math in the beginning of this. You can figure out, again, what type of mix you want, how many clients you want. Do you want to give more effort to fewer clients? Do you want to systemize things that you can serve a larger client base? But what is that revenue per client? And what does it add up to? And what are your client acquisition costs, right? So, if I'm spending the money on marketing, the good news is most of the stuff we're talking about today is evergreen organic marketing. The beauty of being in the tax and accounting space is you don't have to give Google AdWords all your money. You don't need to give Meta all your money. It's actually quite the opposite. You can feed the AI engines when they reference articles or expertise. If you've written about it, hopefully they'll see, hey, this is a thought leader. I'm going to reference them and link to them. I, as Google, am going to say, this person is talking about this very specific query. I know this person's the thought leader, but you know why? Because the algorithm sees your reviews. It sees all the newsletters you've written. It sees how active you are on social media. These are all signals to say, hey, rank this firm above others, right? Hours worked per revenue dollar, net promoter score, client satisfaction. There's a lot of different ways to do that. That will give you an idea, is the level of service high enough? Am I responsive enough? If you're getting lower numbers like 4 or 5s, you probably got a problem. If you're 8 or higher, you're probably doing things right. You'll always have a few clients that are going to complain about pricing. That doesn't mean you lower your pricing. They're either just going to complain and still pay it, or they'll find another service that they feel they just want to, kind of nickel and dime you, right? But you can use these metrics to decide which clients or services you want to cut. You'll know when it's time to hire because, now I'm scoring bad. That means I'm not as responsive. People are saying that in my reviews, perhaps. And this also will help you justify value pricing, okay? Which leads to step number 7 to make you a superhuman. Invest in you, okay? Keep evolving as your firm does. So what does that mean? Stay on top of this continuing education. We do, Lee Senior does a monthly tax update, like 1-hour session. And you would be surprised what happens every single month of the year on the tax code, okay? So not only are you learning about the tax code, perhaps different ways to do growing companies, cash flow, budgeting, consulting. You can also look at different types of business strategies. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you're investing in yourself, right? Do you need a peer community or coaching, right? Don't you feel like you're in this little funnel, you're all alone? Perhaps reach out to others. What's working for you? There's all sorts of groups and support groups out there. And then tools that help you think and act like a business owner. Again, I don't want you to think of this as a job. You own a business. You're trying to grow it. You cannot be the jack of all trades. So I think that is a very important step that people kind of forget about, right? So here's a quick assessment checklist, and I'm going to end the playbook here. Do I have a model that actually can scale to $1 million? And if your model is, I'm going to try to get 20 referrals or 20 new clients, and they're going to pay me $495 each one time a year, that's not the model, okay? And that is the old way of thinking. We want you to change the way, right? There is a better way. Let's do this. Do I know my niche better than anyone else? And this is the perceived value, and we see it all the time. Let's say you're a CPA in Burbank. You have a lot of entertainment-related clients, but you're not branded as a CPA who targets entertainers. You're a generalist. We've seen it over and over again. You know who gets the higher paid clients? Do you know who attracts a waiting list to work with them? It's the one that's niched down and focuses their messaging to that particular deal. And the perception is, that person must know secrets that other CPAs don't know. Whether that's fair or not, that's just life. That's reality. And then the second thing that's even worse, they'll pay you more for it. And then from your standpoint, if you're working with the same type of client over and over again, you're going to know their answers before they even ask it, right? You know what all the little secrets are, and it'll make your job a lot easier. The next question, am I the bottleneck or the CEO? So meaning if I am trying to do everything, if I'm doing the production, I'm doing everything, that means you're the bottleneck, okay? Change your mindset. Does my marketing and brand scream premium or generic like all my competitors are selling? I almost lost my mind yesterday, again, in that audit. I talked to my team. I'm like, this is a problem with us. CountingWorks has not communicated properly the value and the differentiation. It's night and day when you look at our services and profiles and end product and results, more importantly, against this generic. And I only can think that people just want to spend as minimal as possible. And they think, wait a second, look at the opportunity. Do I want to have $150,000 in revenue or $1 million? So that decision to save your $150 a month is costing you 850 grand a year. It's insane, especially accountants who guide their clients would kind of go through this process as well. Have I packaged value or just hourly work? Again, if you only, there's only so many hours in the day, and the more efficient you get and the more technology you can do, that means you're actually spending less time per client. And if you're charging by the hour, I think you are going to be hard pressed to grow to the kind of levels that we're talking about. So that is the playbook. And I think it's been pretty detailed, Rebekah. I think we've gone into a few things. I want to do a few follow-up questions with you, kind of discuss this. And I want to go through the biggest one. And I kind of just was alluding to it a little bit, but what is the biggest mindset shift solo pros need to make when they want to go from, I just gave this example, 150 to $1 million. So kind of what is when you're talking to these smaller firms, what is it that we're trying to communicate to coach them to kind of make them think differently?
That you don't have to do it all yourself and that AI is here to help you. We're an AI first company. Lee, I know you and I both heavily rely on AI in our own daily workflows, and really think of it as an assistant, as additional labor, as more manpower, if you will, than you really have from a human standpoint. So when I talk to people, I do a lot of AI trainings with our clients too, who just don't know how to use it, don't know how to prompt it. And I love to kind of see them realize that, like, oh, wow, this actually can save me so many hours. So I think not being afraid to delegate to technology is probably the biggest mindset shift that I want people to see. Because as you said earlier, this industry is largely very conservative, very manual, and it's taking some time for people to kind of come around to the idea that tech is there to help them. It's not there to take their jobs. It's not there to change the industry in a bad way. So I think the idea of delegating to technology is still foreign to a lot of tax and accounting pros, but it really is there to help you. And it's a huge game changer, especially if you're working by yourself, or maybe you have like some seasonal employees, but you're kind of doing everything. Offload the tedious things, offload the content writing to a degree. Obviously, you can give it a once over, add your flavor, that kind of thing. But let AI take on those tasks that are taking you hours and are really preventing you from doing the things you need to do to grow $1 million firm.
Yeah, and I'll just add, stop thinking about how do I work more, right? And start thinking about how do I create processes or systems to scale. You don't need to DIY everything, focus on leverage your time, leverage your tech, pricing. There's no way, or maybe you can with AI. You might be able to do $1 million of work yourself. You actually probably can now, but you need to have a vertical, have a niche, have systems in place, but you can't price by the hour to do that. You have to have value pricing there. So the takeaway here is if everything depends on you haven't built a firm, you've built a high stress job, because when you're not in the office, you're not generating any revenue, right? So that would be the first one. I'm going to kind of circle into this one. We've talked about it a little bit, but I want to say, since again, you talk to firms daily, how does a clear brand message actually translate into higher revenue? So kind of explain how this works.
This kind of goes back to what you were saying, Lee, about that perceived expertise. So the more you hone in on your brand and the more you create that brand identity, not just on your website, but around the web. This is something I talk to clients about all the time. Google, other algorithms, AI algorithms, they want to see that you have a brand identity that extends beyond your own website. That's why backlinking is important. Thought leadership is important. Social media is important. All of these things should be cohesive. They should really build your brand identity. As people are researching a topic and they start to see you over and over, hey, this person really seems to know restaurant taxes or pediatrician bookkeeping or whatever your niche is. the more they see you, the more trust they're going to have in you, the more they're going to be willing to pay because they perceive that you offer services in their area that are better than anybody else who's doing the work. So that's really where it comes from. It's just kind of hammering home those points that really matter to you, hammering home your expertise across the internet. And the more people see you, the more value you're putting out there, the more money they're going to be willing to give you for advisory services, whatever it may be.
And just not just who sees you. There's the bots that crawl you
Right?
and Google algorithm and all the algorithms. They love a clear niche, right? So branding actually delivers more discoverability and that search everywhere optimization. So your brand will actually be shown online more often. And I'll give an example. I help real estate pros in Denver keep more of what they earn, right? That's much more powerful than a general statement like general tax and accounting services, right? So not where I serve, not who I'm invested in. I'm invested in your community. People care about that. You're not just a name out there. Oh, this is a local. I want to work with a local. They understand Denver. Maybe there's local politics. Maybe there's local business trends, whatever. Everything's localized, right? And I am a real estate pro. I want to work with someone who understands that. That's when they're going to pick you. You also can think about this too, is your brand actually becomes your filter. Okay. So now people are self-selecting who they work with based on what your brand stands for. You're going to start attracting those clients like that you want. Okay. We've talked about a little bit. I want to go into packaging a little bit. And what this means. We have done podcasts and webinars about packaging. But explain a little bit about, how do you package your services? How do you make it more transparent? This is more predictable for the client and it's more scalable for you. You understand if I have packages, just like the math project where we started in process one, do I want 100 clients at $10,000? Okay, what does that package need to look like? And who would find that value in spending $10,000 a year with me in order for them to actually sign up with you, right? So, and then how does that make it easier to sell when you have a structured offer versus like the black hole of, I don't know. Okay.
Right. So people like to know what they're going to pay. People value transparency. And I think this is cross-generational, right? People value trust and transparency. We talked about it a little bit in our generational podcast. But authenticity and transparency with pricing are important to everyone, especially in today's world. People want to know where their money is going to go and they want to know how much of it they're going to have to spend. So offering package pricing is beneficial for you because, like you just said, Lee, it's going to let you really create the business model that you want because there's not going to be guesswork. You're not going to have to guess if I'm doing this many hours of work for this client, but oh, wait, I might only need to do this many hours of work and that's going to change my, total by this much. There's no math. You just know I'm charging this much per month. I'm providing these services. If they want more services, they have to upgrade to a higher package. So it's very clear cut for you as a business owner. And for the client, they know exactly what they're getting. So they can pick whichever package truly works for them and their budget. Again, like I said, if they need more services, they can upgrade to a higher package at some point, or you can offer, small add-ons, that kind of thing. But it really just establishes that you are a trustworthy person who's not going to nickel and dime them, who's not going to take more than you're owed. And so it builds trust from the start. It just really is the best way to get people on board. They're also more likely to call you. In working with clients, I have found that the people who have package pricing listed on their websites, by and large, get more phone calls than our clients who don't have pricing. And I know actually that it's because nobody wants to call when they have no idea how much they're going to have to pay. If you've already seen, okay, I'm going to have to pay $395 a month and you can afford that as a client, you're going to be much more likely to call that tax professional because you already have a sense of, okay, I could work with this person.
Take the friction out of the buying process. What do I say? I've been saying this for years and years and years. I think another thing is packages are how you stop selling your time, right? And start selling your value. So it's like the perfect first step. I want to talk a little bit of automation, only in the spec. We've talked about it already in the setup, but I want you to think about something, and it's just a takeaway. So automation doesn't replace the relationship. It actually frees you up to actually have one. So instead of sitting there and doing all this busy work, you're talking to your client. You're having a Zoom meeting. You're corresponding versus, through your chat on your client hub securely, right? That is creating a relationship. That is the differentiation. That's why they're going to still hire you and pay you as AI and technology continues to grow. So I think that's a kind of a big deal. And that goes into the whole idea of systems that work. Otherwise, you're maxing out. If you can hustle all you want and you can get to that 150 to 250. After that, I think you've hit capacity. I think you're going to burn out. You're going to have a harder time, going to where you want to go. So kind of a formula here is systems equal scale, repeatable experiences, predictable cash flow. If everyone's on a recurring package with you, you don't have to every, month. I'm like, oh my God, where's my business coming from? I hope I get referrals this month, right? So this means less chaos for you. So I think it's really important. So I'm going to give, I think, the last question here. And I'm going to go into content and visibility. So we've talked a lot about this already, but I like to repeat things that are really important once, twice, three times. And this is going to be our last time. So this is really important. But what role does content and visibility play in getting to that $1 million mark?
This is my wheelhouse, so I'm going to say it plays.
That's why I set you up for this. And I saved it for last.
You did the best for last. So what content is going to do is build the foundation of your $1 million business. And I don't just say that because I work in content and I love content. I think that it really truly builds the foundation, because not only is it what's going to help you establish a high EAT score on Google, your expertise, your authoritativeness, your trustworthiness, all of these things that you need to have in order to actually show up as a tax professional, as someone in the financial world. But it's going to help you build trust with clients, which, as we've established, is hugely important, going to help you provide value to clients. And the more content you post, the more likely you are to show up. That's where the visibility bit comes in. The more consistently you post and the more you are providing value, that you're writing these content clusters, you're building affiliated articles that link back and forth to each other. That's the kind of thing, the kind of highway, if you will, that Google is looking for, and AI is looking for, and every other search system is looking for when it comes to figuring out who should rank at the top for particular search queries. So content is really the core of your brand. And I really believe that it's not your logo, it's not the pictures on your website, it's the value that you're putting out there from a content perspective, cross-platform. That's what's going to help differentiate you from everybody else, not only everybody else in your niche, but everybody else in the tax and accounting industry.
I'm going to disagree on one thing.
Okay.
If you're putting up stock photos that look like they were from 20 years ago, that is going to bring down the premium part of your brand. So and the logo, it make it look good. But one of the things that I think you hit on, and you're right on, is like great visibility reduces your need to sell, right? And what this does is clients come in warm. They're already pre-educated about you. So think about this. If they read some of your content and then they're like getting educated, and perhaps they saw a couple of your social posts, maybe they signed up for your newsletter, they're kind of over time building trust and being educated. And then they went to do a deep dive. So they're now just like, they're aware of you, but now maybe they're going to consider, hey, maybe I should look at hiring this person. And they Google you and look further. Your website speaks to them. More importantly, you have reviews, case studies. You show that what you're talking about delivers. You are going to, one, attract the ideal clients. And what's going to happen is you're going to stop chasing clients and start attracting clients. And this is the golden thing. And once you get this wheel going as well, the flywheel effect, it builds upon itself. And especially if you're doing evergreen content and you're creating all this, you're going to get more and more articles, more and more social posts, picking up visibility. And it just starts growing and growing and growing. And then what you'll see is you're dominating Google results or search everywhere results. And your competitors are down on page 10. I mean, they're basically non-existent. So that is a wrap of this particular podcast. I did create a PDF download of the playbook. I kind of read it through for you. We kind of added some extra narrative and discussion points about it. But if you want to just have that as a guide to step back, we are going to put that up on our blog article for the $1 Million side. And again, I'll have some links in the descriptions for you. And it's packed with the framework, the packaging ideas, the automation strategies that we talked about today. And then plus, obviously the next steps to start scaling on your terms. So this is our second podcast post tax season. I thought it was very important. We have a lot of solopreneurs. We have a lot of smaller firms that we are helping scale to $1 million. But we never came out there and said, we'll tell you, oh, reviews are really important. But we never really told you why. And as I said during my audit, I think it's on CountingWorks to be better at explaining exactly what the end game is. Why we do what we do, what is the goal, and how to get there. So this is our first playbook. Next week's podcast, we're going to go to the firms that have already hit 1 million. And now the question is, how do I go from 1 to 5, 1 to 10, wherever your dreams want to be? So that will be something that we're going to tackle next Wednesday. So looking forward to seeing a lot of you there. Again, please feel free to share this with any colleagues or friendly competitors. Don't share it with anyone that you compete with. You don't want them to know the secret formula. But hopefully you're getting a lot of value out of this podcast. I appreciate, again, the input, the feedback we get from thousands of you who are doing this and succeeding, and it's exciting. Thank you again. Like or comment, that's helpful for us. But otherwise, visit countingworkspro.com if you have any questions about the services and kind of our methodology of what we talked about today. And if you're struggling, we can definitely get you over the hump. Again, thank you very much. Rebekah, any parting shots?
I think we hit everything. See you guys next week.
All right. Thank you.